Hello everyone, welcome to Fiaura, and we're going to be taking a look at this tank, the BMD-1. Well, not really. It's big. It's cousin that's a little bigger, the BMD-2. Now, I don't own a BMD-2 in my garage currently, so I couldn't actually show you guys a BMD-2 in my garage. But what we do have is we have this. Now, it is equipped with a 30mm cannon, and it can be upgraded to carry a missile. I highly recommend you focus on using the cannon. But before we get into the details in game, let's go over this vehicle's service record. So it was developed as a replacement for the BMD-1, but it failed to replace it completely because the Soviet economy went poop. Its 30mm cannon is actually pretty good, and it was pretty much implemented to solve the drawback of using the 73mm, which is why the BMP-2 has an autocannon instead of a 70mm cannon. Now, something to remember about this vehicle is it has no armor because it was made to be dropped out of airplanes. This is a paratrooper infantry fighting vehicle. They made this thing to drop it out of a plane or out of a helicopter. Its armor is, however, military aluminum. So, you know, that was changed over from the magnesium armor they used on the BMD-1 because of the BMD-1. The armor would catch fire. The armor would catch fire. Whoops. So, yeah, we're going to replace that with something else that's not going to burn as easily. It was used during the Soviet-Afghan War and the Russian-Georgian War. In addition to this, it was used in the recent Ukrainian conflict by both sides. It turns out it's a fairly decent infantry fighting vehicle, but don't put it up against a tank or in an urban environment. It's really more of an open environment warfare type of vehicle. It's no longer produced, but there are still several in service because they're still actually really decent vehicles. Now, getting into its in-game mechanics. In-game wise, this little 30mm autocannon will rip you apart if it gets beside or behind you. And I highly recommend players focus on using the autocannon. It's also one of the few Soviet vehicles that has excellent 10 degrees of gun depression. So you grind through this and you work with that little 73mm, and then you get this 30mm that actually has gun depression. You're like, what is this? I don't understand. So those are the two really big highlights of this vehicle, is the gun depression and the high camouflage rating and the huge damage per minute. Now, comparing it to the Fox, you're always going to have higher penetration with your autocannon. The Fox is going to do more damage per shot, but you're going to do more damage per clip. You do have slightly better armor than the Fox, but it doesn't make much of a difference when your armor is aluminum. The only reason you have better armor is because you have a better modifier for what your armor is made out of, because you're military aluminum versus regular aluminum. You're slower than the other AFVs, by the way. You are tracked, not wheeled, but you are slower. You do have a better camouflage rating, and your view range is the same. Note, I don't have this vehicle in my garage, so there's no commander affecting the BMD-2 versus the Fox. Your gunner is also your loader in this vehicle, just like in the Fox. So if your gunner goes down, not only is your gun affected, but your reload time is also drastically affected. Moving over to compare it. Now, we're going to compare it to the BMD-2. BMD-2, period, end of story, has the most vicious autocannon at tier 5. It's going to have the most penetration, it's going to have the most damage per clip, and it's going to have the highest damage per minute. It has better armor than the BMD-1 because the BMP was not made to drop out of an airplane. The BMD is. So, automatically best armor. The thing is, though, it also has a better engine, so the BMP goes faster. But it doesn't have the camouflage rating. It tries to make up for that with 10 more meters of view range, but when you're talking 6% camouflage reduction, that's That's a lot of camo reduction. That's 24 meters camo reduction against a BMD. So, yeah. It also doesn't have the greatest gun depression in comparison. So the BMD wins on gun depression. On its traverse speed, it wins. Its reload time, But its accuracy here is also something to marvel at, because it's as accurate as the Fox. And it has a quicker aim time than both of these vehicles. So there is your kind of advantage-disadvantage breakdown between the BMD-2 versus these other vehicles. However, I can say that the BMD-2 does have something else going for it. It's tracked, but it has about the same size silhouette as the Fox with a lower profile, which means that this little thing is incredibly hard to hit. Not to mention, if you really look at the tracks here, look at them really carefully. Look how high off the ground this thing is. Just hitting it in the tracks is more than likely going to cause you to hit the ground or hit the other track and pass through and do no real damage than to actually affect the tank. So that is something to take into consideration. Now, for your commander, I almost recommend this for all AFVs. Sabrina Washington goes in this thing. The increase in view range and the increase in camouflage factor are beyond words absolutely the most useful factors you could have for the BMD-2. For your crew, I'm actually going to recommend you get rapid fire because you have the longest reload time out of any AFV for your autocannon. You're really going to want to reduce that. I also recommend smooth ride and off-road driving. For your gunner, you can really kind of choose between the quick draw, or you can choose to do a sharpshooter. Your choice. But I would really recommend off-road driving to make sure that you can make the most out of this thing's ability to drive off-road and go up hills and go into completely unexpected positions. When you're in this BMD-2 with 10 degrees of gun depression off the front and sides, you can get into places that people don't even expect and shoot them, and they're like, "How are you hitting me?" Reasons. And I cannot emphasize this enough. I know the BMD-2 has a missile. I know it does. I know you're going to be tempted to use that missile. Hold back as much as you can stand it and focus on using these 30 mil cannons. This 30 mil cannon. Because on the Bradley, it's going to be the same way. You're really going to want to focus on how to use this 30 mil cannon more so than this missile. On the BMD-4, you're going to be focused on the 30 mil and the 100 mil frag cannon more than you are this missile. And the Ramka, you're really going to just spam the autocannon. So now is a good time to really learn how to use this thing's autocannon to your maximum benefit. In addition to this, just remember you're an AFV, move around the battlefield. So we're going to go take a look at some PvP and some PvE gameplay. Let's go see just what this little thing is capable of. Alright guys, so here we have the BMD-2 in PvP. And as promised, now I've been doing a lot of tank reviews for Armored Warfare recently because it seems like it's the thing you guys want to see is the tank review. Me going over, how the tank works, what it's capable of, all of those things.
Incoming Arctic.
Now with the BMD-2, you want to be the aggressor. You cannot afford to not get your team moving and you guys not be the ones taking it to the enemy with this tank. It's simply a thing. And being a frontline scout with this thing is absolutely amazingly easy. You have an incredible camouflage, incredible view range, and your mobility is, while it's not as fast as the BMP or the Fox, you're still quick enough to get into
Artie, is that smoke you?
good positions. Now I realize after a second that smoke is actually our artillery laying down a smoke screen, and that I should take advantage. So I do. If the Artie wants to throw smoke like that, you do it. You go in, you take maximum advantage, you get into an unfriendly position for the enemy, and you look for them. You also generally obey the Fiaura rule. Move until you have something to shoot at. If you don't have anything to shoot at yet, you need to be looking for something to shoot at. Oh, this poor Artie is going to get my HE spam. Oh god, the humanity. Those are low damage rolls, by the way, for this vehicle. Wait till you see the armor piercing rounds hit stuff. This thing will tear you apart. Cannot emphasize that enough. If you are under attack by an autocannon from this thing, and it's true with the entire line, if you are taking damage from this thing's autocannon, you move. As that poor OF-40 has just found out that I've taken off a third of his health. Before he could even aim and fire. You don't stop and aim and fire if you're under attack from this thing. You just get out. Now I don't think I'm getting penetrations here, but I am panicking the guy. And that's something important to remember. People panic when they're under attack by an autocannon. Now, I'm not sure why these people camp like this, but it's not going to turn out very well for them. I should pull back more, I know I should, and I don't, and I take the missile. What the fuck? There's a missile up there? I saw the warning, I ignored the warning. Xylo, by the time you can aim, I'm going to kill you. 509 damage in about 2 seconds. Ow. Now the defect with this tank, and with all the BMDs, is your life is quick. I'm sorry. You should go into your matches and you should expect to die. What you do between the time you die and the time that you started the match is most important, but the fuck, there's a Belgian Panzer back there flinging missiles? Are you serious? Yeah, that's me on the mic right now. When I recorded this, I forgot to get off the mic, but I find it rather entertaining. Because I'm spot on. The Belgian Panzer should have been firing his cannon at me. He paid for those missiles with most of his hit points. And now he's hemmed in there because he didn't put down his autocannon fire. I cannot emphasize this enough, guys. If you have an automatic cannon, regardless of caliber, in Armored Warfare, it should be your primary weapon. Spamming missiles is... There's a reason why the Swingfire isn't a great tank. Missiles are kind of a specialist weapon. That's why they're almost always a secondary item to use. They're not what you're supposed to rely on for most tanks. And if you get used to the autocannon now, well, you get games like this where I did... I'm going to go tell you, I did more than twice my hit points in damage in this. I came in here with 900 hit points, and I'm walking out with almost 1,800 points of damage. Plus 2 kills. But if you use this thing properly as a hardcore flanker, there's almost no one that can truly challenge you. I'm kind of surprised that Sheridan pinned that, but I think it might have been a high explosive.
And he's targeting the AFV over the MBTs, which is a mistake. It's a huge mistake. I know the starship behind me is spotted. I know the tank destroyer is spotted. I know these other tanks are spotted. And he's now paying for his mistake because he's having to deal with a Sheridan at point blank range.
I'm letting my recording self-talk for a minute. But, yeah. The Belgian Panzer are absolutely spamming that missile. He's paying for it because he's not using his cannon. And if he just used his cannon, he could have killed the Sheridan. That's why you don't rely on the missile. Because it doesn't start aiming until you stop. And if he'd just come out here full blazing going, he might have killed the Sherry. But the Sherry's like, nope. My 152 derpy is going to derp you. And then Donkey's here is going to break his own track. Whoops. I'm sorry I don't actually have the damage counter up in the match. The feature wasn't implemented at the time of recording.
I would have targeted the Sheridan. I would have targeted the Starship. I would have targeted the Dragoon. I would have targeted something besides my AFV. But he targeted my AFV with missiles, and I'm like, if you already have the missile loaded, why are you not flinging it at a main battle tank? I thought, what the fuck shot me with missiles? And I went, oh, Belgium.
I'm going to silence my previous self now. But yeah, most of my shots, the gun is extremely accurate and aims really quick. It's what you use it for. You flank, you help the advance, you spot for people. But you have to remember, the life of the BMD driver is a short life. If you can survive till the end of the match, fine, fair enough. But to be active and constantly fighting, you're not going to live long. But you're going to do a lot of damage and do a lot of spotting very quickly. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review. I hope to see you guys in the next video. I hope to hope you guys will tune in tomorrow for the LARP explanation from NicoCon, and for the I hope you check out the NicoCon overview video today. And there's a lot of cosplay in that video too. Go right ahead and have fun with it. In the meantime, if you did like, please hit the like button. If you want to see more stuff by Fiaura, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, you can click on the ad at the end of the video, or you can go through the Patreon page. And if you want to see the previous Armored Warfare video, it's right there. It's on the AMX 10P 90, the Pack 90 version, the tank destroyer. Is it worth its weight in gold? Go watch and find out. In the meantime, this is Fiaura officially signing out for right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye, guys. The Xylo S, this thing has a heat shell. You could switch to heat if you're looking at lower armored targets. Sweet, sweet penetration. Tastes so good. Hit his track and not his actual hull. But if you were to say get into a position where you were at about 500 meters, which means you know you're outside of the view range of tier 4s,